What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Steve V Show. I am your host, Steve V, and today I have a guest who happens to be someone in my family. It's my cousin, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing well, Steve. Happy to be on the show. Thank you very much.
It's very nice having you on the show. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about a lot of interesting topics. You're someone in my family who, even though you're one of the younger ones, you've done a lot in your life. You've traveled a lot. You're in university right now, studying to be an engineer. You do a little bit of acting. You still find time to kind of do some other hobbies like video games. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about on this podcast. So we're going to touch on quite a few things, and hopefully you guys enjoy the podcast. So we'll get started right now, right after this. So I have my cousin Nick here. Like I said, very interesting gentleman. So we're gonna get into some pretty fun topics. So the first thing I want to talk to you about, because out of all the people I know in my entire life, you probably traveled the most. You've been to a lot of places. So why don't you tell us about some of the places that you've traveled and kind of give us a little insight on some of these spots, like maybe some of the food that you've tried, some of the areas that you've went to that maybe lived up to what you kind of expected, or maybe kind of didn't live up to what you expected. Like, just kind of give me an idea about some of these spots that you've traveled.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll go on record say I recently got a gift, and it was a big scratch map of the world.
Okay.
And so basically you go on and you scratch off all the places you've been to. And I went ahead and I did that.
Yeah.
And I've been to maybe like 20, 21 countries at this point.
How old are you?
I'm 24. Recently.
24 years old, people.
Yeah.
24 years old, and he's been to that many places. This is somebody that is definitely taking advantage of life. I give you a lot of credit, Nick. Getting out there and really kind of going for something that you knew you wanted to do, and you obviously picked a really good time in your life to do this because
I've got the credit card bills to prove it.
Yeah, well, I understand that's part of the thing of kind of traveling. Obviously, you're gonna rack up a little bit of debt and stuff like that, but
there's ways to do it cheaply, right? Like
yeah.
I mean, I was hoofing it in Australia and Hawaii, like back of a van, basically.
That's pretty cool
for a couple of weeks, and we can talk more about that. But I mean, I've seen all these places, and the world's crazy huge, Steve. Like, it dawned on me, I've barely scratched the surface of all the countries out there. So it kind of, I've got an itch to keep going. But, I've been to a lot of places in Europe. I've kind of all over Greece, Croatia, Norway, Netherlands, Belgium, Germany.
Well, just the first thing that you said there, Greece, obviously... Well, it's not obvious because you guys don't know us personally. Well, maybe some of you guys do that are listening to this, but we're Portuguese, but Nick, on his dad's side, they're from Greece. So Greece was obviously somewhere where you probably wanted to see just because of the roots of your family, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I mean, it's crazy when you go somewhere that's kind of has people that look like you or speak like you or speak like the people you know back home. I really did, and this is maybe going to sound a little cliche, but it felt like I was sort of back home. Like when I was in Greece, and similarly when I traveled to the Azores, like the Portuguese islands when I was younger, it feels different from every other country I've been to.
For sure.
And I was there with a friend when I went to Greece, and I just really wanted them to try all the food. I wanted to show them around and really have them experience the culture. So no, that was really cool. And I mean, I think the best moment for me in Greece is my Greek is not very good. I know like ligo, we would say in Greek, so a little bit. But I was pulling out the Echaristos, the Parakalos, Kalikimera, and then at one point someone just started fully talking back to me in Greek, and I'm like, I'm assimilating, I'm blending in.
That's pretty cool.
It was followed by some panic because I had no idea what the hell they were saying.
See,
so.
it's funny you mentioned that because I kind of had a similar story when I went to the Azores to visit my family and kind of see my roots. I was talking to my uncle one day and I was talking to him in Portuguese. And he actually looked at me and he said, "Can you stop talking in Portuguese? Because I actually understood you better when you were speaking English."
Oh.
And that's what I was like, damn, that sucks. So, because I understand everything in Portuguese, but I live here in Canada, so I don't use the Portuguese very often. My dad will talk to me in Portuguese. I talk back in English. So it was rusty when I went to Portugal. And when I was talking to my uncle, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to get to work on my Portuguese. And when he said that comment to me, it was like, okay, that really... It really sucks to hear. Obviously, I gotta go back to the drawing board a little bit, so definitely still have to work on my Portuguese. But yeah, you just reminded me of that.
Yeah, it's definitely tough when people are like, yeah, you're so bad at the language. I mean, I remember, but I don't know. I think I would prefer that because when I went to Portugal, I just remember being there. And the one phrase I knew in Portuguese at the time was like, "Não percebe nada." I don't understand anything.
Yeah.
Which I would say whenever people were talking to me and they usually got it.
Yeah.
But there are these two old Portuguese ladies one day just talking at me. And I was like, "Oh, desculpe," like, sorry, não percebe nada, não percebe isto.
Yeah.
And they were like, they paused, they looked at each other, they looked at me.
Yeah.
And then they just kept going in Portuguese.
Yeah.
So I got really good at giving thumbs up and thumbs down to get around. Which when I was in Germany, we were staying, my friend and I, at this Airbnb. Beautiful place, super cheap, but the owner, not a lick of English. And so my friend I was traveling with the whole trip, I'm so good at German, I've been practicing German on Duolingo, I've got this. We get there, and the bastard threw me to the wolves. Like, this man is trying to explain the ins and outs of the Airbnb, all the things we could do and couldn't. Just this big, stern German man. And I'm like, nein, okay. And I'm like, help. But my friend just left me there. So I almost wish he had told me your German sucks. Let's talk in English.
Son of a gun.
But, throughout all my travels, I mean, it's kind of been crazy. If you can speak English almost anywhere, people have been able to speak it. But just this summer, I went down to Central South America. So I visited Guatemala and Colombia. Talk about culture shock. I mean, Spanish is the first language, like, through and through there. And it was actually almost pretty rare to find people who could speak, like, conversational English. And it was the first time in all my travels. And I've been to, like, Egypt and Thailand and all these other places where I really kind of felt like a fish out of water. I was like, I don't speak the language here. I'm going to have to, like, get by on Google Translate and whatever else I can, which, of course, became even more difficult after our phones were taken from us.
Phones were taken from you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Who took your phones?
2 guys in Colombia.
Oh, that's when they got stolen.
Yeah, well, stolen. That's the story I've been telling the immediate family. But actually, if you want to know, off the record officially,
this is going on the podcast, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't think my mom's gonna watch this, but if she finds out this way, sorry, Mom. We were mugged.
Oh, damn, man.
Yeah. But you know what? I mean, still a beautiful country and so many wonderful people there. So I don't really let it color the experience, but.
That must have been a little nerve-wracking.
It was a little nerve-wracking, but then it's even worse because we were relying on Google Translate the whole time. So
while they were bugging you? You were doing Google Translate?
I was like, please, just let me, I just want to type in you can take it all.
No.
Yeah.
How soon did that happen within your trip?
It was near the end, thankfully. So, it all ended up kind of working out. We flew to
I'm sorry to hear that. This is an exclusive on this podcast. This is the first I'm hearing this. I knew that his phone was stolen, but I didn't know it's because he got mugged. So you guys are hearing it first here.
Funnily enough, then we just the next day we were leaving, so we got a little burner phone and we flew into Miami.
Yeah.
Of course, that was
right when stolen there.
No, thankfully not. But there was the hurricane blowing through northern Florida, so we actually caught the tail end of that in Miami. So
you guys got some shit luck that week.
The last leg of the trip was pretty tough, but I mean, I still reflect so fondly on it. How many people get the chance to do all this traveling, right? Like, and here I am.
And you guys are okay.
We're okay. Exactly.
Obviously, hindsight being 2020.
Yeah.
You're okay. Your friend's okay. Now it's just part of a story. But
exactly.
I'm sure it was a little nerve-wracking when it happened.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely... I didn't speak very good Spanish, but I knew exactly what
You knew what was going on, huh?
So,
Damn.
oh my gosh.
Okay, so wow, still kind of recovering from that story. So
me.
yeah, so you've been to Europe. Obviously, you mentioned Greece and some of those other places, Portugal.
Yeah.
You sorry, I'm dealing with a cold, so if you guys kind of hear me kind of stop for a second, I'm just catching my breath. You mentioned Guatemala. You mentioned Germany.
Mm-hmm.
You've been to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Did you mention Hawaii already?
Yeah, that's where we were slumming it in the.
Oh, that's
camper
right.
vans,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah. So you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Thailand, Western Canada,
Yeah.
Iceland.
Yeah.
You said you're going to Sweden next, right?
Yeah, I'm headed up to Sweden in May. So
Yeah.
they've got. I don't know if you know what Eurovision is. You ever heard of Eurovision?
Well, there was a movie on Netflix
With
about
the
whole
Will
experience.
Ferrell movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, so an old housemate of mine, their family's Swiss from Switzerland, so they're
Yeah.
big into Eurovision. They
Yeah,
invited
yeah.
me up to their place this year to watch it, and I got super into it. So
Yep.
Sweden won, which means their country's hosting it this year.
Oh, okay.
Sweden, conveniently, is where ABBA won, or is where ABBA is from. You know,
Yeah,
ABBA,
yeah,
Mamma
yeah,
Mia.
Yeah.
And it's the 50-year anniversary of ABBA winning Eurovision.
Okay.
So we're kind of expecting there to be a
They'll
lot of
make-
fanfare and a bit of
They'll probably make an appearance.
yeah, in some
Yeah.
capacity. And
Because I think all four are still alive.
I think so. And
I
you
think
know,
they actually. Sorry
yeah,
to interrupt you. I think they actually recently came out with a CD.
they did. Yeah, they
Okay.
released a new album.
Yeah.
And so I mean, because part of my acting, I did Mamma Mia, right? I don't know if you
Yep.
remember that. I was in a musical production
Yeah,
of Mamma Mia. So getting to go see ABBA in person potentially, that's super exciting to me. That
Sure.
feels like a real full circle
Yeah,
moment. So
for sure. So, since you kind of just touch on it right now,
yeah.
you've done quite a bit of acting.
Mhm.
You've done some plays. I've had the pleasure of seeing you perform in some of these plays. I know you've had an interest in acting for quite a while, but
Yeah.
like, was it one of those things where you were kind of nervous and then said, I'm going to give this a try, or did you kind of like jump in head first and then from there you kind of caught the bug and it just kept on going? Like, how'd you kind of get into the whole acting thing?
You know what, Steve? I mean, I've spent my whole life making a fool of myself, so I was never that nervous about acting. I was
fair
like, at least up there it's scripted, right? I mean, I'm going around cracking jokes that aren't landing myself, and that's far more embarrassing than anything I'm
But
going to
sometimes
read
that
on
actually
stage.
makes the joke because sometimes the delivery, because it kind of ends up falling on this awkwardness, it makes it more funny.
Well, I built a bit of a brand on that, but
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
I still remember my first like acting experience was when I was in grade 1. I was in some.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was in this production. I played a rabbit. It was
Okay.
it was a really tiny thing, and I hated vegetables at the time. This is a
Yeah.
tangent, but someone
That's kind of
Instead
that's kind of a family thing here. Like, we all start off very, very picky, and then slowly but surely we start kind of expanding our palate. But
yeah.
the vegetable thing,
I
that's
feel
not a surprise that you.
I feel like usually women or people would come into our life and be like, "You need to eat a salad," and then we're like, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. We need to eat a salad."
Yeah.
But anyways, instead of getting me flowers, someone got me a massive carrot, and like little first grade me, I was pissed. I was like, "What am I supposed to do with this? Stare at it?"
Yeah.
And my mom also doesn't eat vegetables, so that poor carrot.
She never grew out of it.
That poor carrot saw the garbage quicker than anything. But
Yeah.
anyways, so grade 1, and then I went on a huge hiatus. I didn't really do anything. And then it wasn't until high school where I was, this is going to sound a little backwards, but I was, of course, trying to impress a girl, as with most of my stories. And she would end up becoming my girlfriend. So this time it worked out. And I was just not involved at all. And then I was like, well, I need to be involved. I need I need to show her I can do things. So
Yep.
I just decided, okay, well, what can I do pretty easily? And I was like, oh, I'll do a play. I'd done public speaking in elementary school. I'd done that initial play.
Yep.
So I got involved in my high school's production of Macbeth, and I just got the itch. And then I joined my school's improv team.
Yep.
That was super fun. And then just like, I continued to do the improv team. I did musicals with my school. Once I graduated, I did stuff with the community theater. I did plays at Domina around town.
Yep.
And then eventually I got involved at the university I go to as well. There was a group,
Yep.
and we did some shows, and I think you saw this one maybe when I played The Wedding Singer. at the bar.
Yeah, yeah. Is that the one that was kind of like a detective story?
Yeah, it was a murder mystery, but
murder mystery,
entirely improv as well. And I got paid for those. And actually,
awesome.
So the company was 6 a.m. Productions.
Okay.
They ended up going on during COVID to do a really successful, like, online. They transitioned it all to online.
Yep.
And I had the chance to work for them, and Moniker was the other company they partnered with.
Okay.
And it was basically like corporate retreats, but digital. So because they couldn't travel with these companies, Moniker partnered with them, and they're like, we want to still do team bonding stuff, and so Virtual Murder Mystery is great for that, apparently. And so I am one of the few starving young artists who can say that I have been paid to do acting in a serious manner. It's unfortunately the last few years it's taken a bit of a hiatus while I kind of wrap up school and everything like that, but I'd love to get back into it. And I mean, everyone has their artistic outlet, and mine just happens to be that, and I think it's been really valuable, honestly, in terms of comfort speaking in front of audiences, especially as someone in the sciences where so many brilliant people, Steve, but like some of them can barely get a sentence or two out before you're kind of, it's like, oh, snooze fest, right? No offense, those are the best people in the lab. Like, they will do research I could never hope to do.
I mean, first person that comes to mind is Elon Musk. If you ever see Elon Musk in an interview, he's definitely somebody that has a lot of great things to say, but there's a lot of pauses when he's talking. He really has to think through each thing that he says. Still a great interview to hear, but again, I think where he feels most comfortable is obviously when he's, working on his projects and stuff like that. So
yeah, we're putting out a Zeet. Is that what they call them now? Is it because it's X?
I don't know. I'm one of the rare people that does not have X or Twitter, so I obviously know what's going on in that realm, but I'm like just Facebook, and that's about it. Well, in YouTube, I have obviously a social presence because this is going to be on YouTube, but
maybe Spotify one day.
That's my goal. I want to get these on the streaming platform at some point, but yeah, for the most part, I kind of stay away from social media, so that was kind of interesting when he kind of went into that market. I know what he was trying to do. It was the whole freedom of speech thing. He didn't like the fact that, certain people were being kicked off the platform and not able to say what they need to say because it didn't align with like the leftist, kind of thought of things. So I know why he did it, but it's I don't know. That's a whole other thing. But we'll kind of get back to what you were talking about. We kind of took a left turn there, but
a leftist turn. What was I talking about? Acting?
Yeah, you were talking about acting. So you did mention that you kind of went on a bit of a hiatus with that.
Yeah.
Because you're busy with school and traveling, and it is pretty hard to kind of balance everything all at once.
Oh, yeah.
Where obviously during COVID, we're kind of stuck in one area, so that kind of left more time to do stuff like that. And like you said, you guys were kind of getting into the more online space because of the fact that things were closed down. And the fact that you're into acting and I've seen you perform a couple of times, it's really cool to you're my cousin, so I know you very well, and to see you on stage and basically become another person, and you're able to make me kind of get lost in the character even though I know who you are. I feel like you truly are talented in that realm, and again, it was a pleasure to see you perform when I've had that opportunity. So
thanks.
I feel like that's truly what great acting is when someone does know who you are as a person. You're the type of person where you have a lot of certain things that kind of stick out that really makes you who you are, but on that stage it's like somehow you completely erase that. You become like a chalkboard with nothing on it, and then I see you perform and it's like you fill the chalkboard with this whole other character and personality, and we're able to get lost in it. So that's definitely a talent.
That's high praise. So I appreciate it.
So keep whenever you do find time, because you do say it is an outlet that you enjoy, I hope you do get the opportunity to go back and do some more acting, and I look forward to seeing you in more shows.
Yeah. I'll let you know.
So, video games. Let's talk about video games.
We're getting into the brass tacks now. Hey?
Now, the reason I want to bring up video games is because, we grew up playing video games. Like, you used to play with my brother a lot. I remember,
for better or worse.
I remember seeing you and my brother play a lot of GameCube,
my God.
PS2. I know you have a Switch right now, so why don't you tell me a little bit about your interest in video games and some of your favorite games that you've played over the years?
Yeah. I mean, well, for going just gaming with your brother, I mean, that was formative, man. It prepared me for online gaming.
Yeah, my brother
Jason, he pulled no bars. I'd be in the middle of trying to beat him at something. I'd have a bag of bread tossed at me,
and that's the thing. So not only was my brother,
he taught me about loss, eh?
Verbally he could definitely say some stuff to you, but he was definitely more physical. So, like Nick said, like sometimes he would toss like bread at you, or he would just randomly tackle you as you were playing some game.
I'll never forget it, Steve. Like I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and we were playing Sonic Adventures 2. I think.
Yep. Was that on the GameCube?
It was on the GameCube or something like that. And there was this Chow garden, and you could grow these little guys.
Okay.
You would like find them, and then you would train them and grow them up. And I had one. I was just like, he was my man, my little guy, my little man.
Okay.
And one day, right in front of me, Jason, you could permanently delete them.
Yeah.
And he just did it. He just looked at me. He's like, "Do you like this guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Bye-bye." I cried.
Oh my God.
I was so sad.
We got to bring that up to him today.
The little video character. But you know what? I mean, he made me stronger for it, I guess.
Jeez, that's savage.
Yeah.
I did not know he did that to you.
He did that to me.
Because many times, I've walked in on you guys playing video games. There was one summer you were here with us, like, almost, I would say, like, pretty much every day other than the weekend.
Yeah.
And
same summer I almost burnt down your house.
Yes, yeah, that was the situation. So that summer, my brother, he had injured his leg. He was doing some cheerleading at the time. My brother's always been into like acrobatic stuff, so the cheerleading kind of fit well with that, and I gave him the opportunity to hang out with the ladies, which is what he wanted. But he had injured himself to the point where he was using crutches. He had a cast. So my cousin Nick decided that he was going to make them hot dogs. So they put hot dogs in a pan, and they put it on an element. They turn on the element. They go to play video games. Well, I come in from walking our dogs at the time, and I see smoke everywhere. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I go to them. I'm like, do you guys not see, like, this house is literally filled with smoke? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, you guys are literally in a cloud of smoke. So I go over
to the original hotbox, really.
Yeah, so I go over to the kitchen, and he turned on the element, but he turned on the wrong element. So the hot dogs were sitting in water still, as still could get. And then I see the cover of this element with a black ring, and smoke is just coming from it. So I'm like, oh my God. So I turn it off. I basically take the cover off the element. I throw it in the sink. And that was a summer. Nick almost burned down our house. So
we'll get back to video games in a second, but I need to tell you that the tradition lives on. I recently started a grease fire.
Oh my God.
In my own
That's even worse.
Jeez. I was trying to make a risotto, and my taste is more refined. My skills in the kitchen are not. For some reason, I got the bright idea that I was going to so you had to fry a bunch of like stuff on the stovetop, obviously.
Okay.
A bunch of butter, onions, and garlic. That was like the initial thing. And I got this idea that I was going to preheat my pan.
Okay.
Who preheats their pan? With nothing in it. So
with nothing in it? No.
So I'm preheating this thing on max heat. And I'm just dicing my onions, cutting up my garlic, and I'm like, by the time I go to throw everything in there, the heat will be nice and evenly distributed.
Yeah.
I get over to that thing when I'm done chopping everything with my big stick of butter, and it's red hot. This thing is like a few minutes away from melting, and I'm like, yeah, the butter's ready to go in. I toss that butter in.
Big flame.
Instantly, fire everywhere. My arm, people won't be able to see this, but you can see the arm hair on this one side is a little smaller than the other. So,
and my cousin Nick, he's quite hairy, so it's very obvious that there's a change.
Yeah, remember Park Greek.
Yes.
So obviously, at least, thanks to my science background, I knew how to deal with the grease fire. So I put a lid on it, took it off the heat, went and pulled the fire alarm off the wall because it was blaring, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I went back to check on it after dealing with that, and I lift the lid on the pot a little bit. And the fire just trying to get out. Trying to get at me.
You let the air in.
Anyways, that pan's toasted, but, I can still use it for things. But anyway, I'm still a bit of a pyromaniac in the kitchen.
Oh, God.
Speaking of kitchen and cooking, I'll use this transition. One of my favorite games right now, I've been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch.
Okay.
Obviously, the segues that you can cook in that game, obviously, around the fire is Link.
Okay.
I've always loved The Legend of Zelda, though. Yeah. I mean, I remember playing it here. That was what I was playing, actually, when I almost let your place on fire.
Is that what you guys were playing?
I was playing...
I thought you guys were playing Mario Tennis.
No, I was playing Minish Cap, and I don't know what Jason was doing, but I distinctly remember... I really always liked the Legend of Zelda games. It's just kind of like the puzzles, the combat.
Yep.
You can really get lost in the world.
Yep.
So when they came out with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I kind of hopped right on that and just... I don't think I have ADHD, but I will tell you, I've never been more distracted playing a game. I will try to go to one point, and then I will see like a rock. And I'm just like... Time to go see if I can smell what it's cooking.
Well, that's the thing with, and that was a great reference to The Rock, the wrestler. The thing is with those open world games, you could do anything you want, right? Yeah. You could literally probably spend hours doing a bunch of side quests or just kind of running around or riding horses or whatever. Because I actually have Breath of the Wild, but I've only played about 2 hours of it.
It's hard when you're dad, right?
Yeah, so I've thought about getting Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm like, what's the point of me getting Tears of the Kingdom if I can't even find time to play the first one, right? Like 2 hours within that game, that's literally like maybe moving 2 feet. Like it's not much, right? So, but I am a big fan of Legend of Zelda. Link to the Past has always been my favorite. That was on the Super Nintendo.
Yep, that's a good one.
I played that one, nonstop when I was a kid. So that's probably the last Legend of Zelda game that I've actually beat completely.
Wow.
Though I do own, the 2 that were on the 64, Majora's Mask and, oh my God.
Ocarina of Time?
Ocarina of Time, thank you.
Yeah.
I got some for the Game Boy as well.
Twilight Princess, maybe?
I can't remember. It's been so long. It was like...
Or Game Boy, you said, sorry.
Game Boy, yeah. There was 2 of them.
Yeah.
And they were like... I remember they were somewhat linked. They were 2 different games, but they were somewhat linked.
Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. So I've always been a fan of The Legend of Zelda, and I've watched some stuff on the Tears of the Kingdom, and it looks like a great game, and obviously Breath of the Wild, it's really what got people kind of reinvested in this... whole Legend of Zelda thing, and they're going to be making a live-action movie as well, so that's pretty exciting.
Oh, that's really cool.
They're working on that, so... what other games are you interested in?
I mean, well, I guess one place I think where I differ from a lot of the family, I got big into PC gaming when I was growing up. So, I'm a Nintendo fan through and through. I mean, I could sit here and rhyme with Super Mario, Metroid, Legend of Zelda, all those are classics, but... when I got into PC gaming, that allowed me to branch out into some unique games you couldn't really play on consoles, right? So there's this one game, Sid Meier's Civilization, which is basically like Risk on steroids. If you've ever played the board game Risk, I have a lot of fond memories of playing that with friends. And I mean, of course, stuff like Minecraft you can get on consoles now, but back in the day, it used to be PC only, so I played a lot of that. And then, I mean, just like... the sheer number of things you could do. I played a lot of Skyrim on there, open world, and obviously on consoles, but you could mod on PC really easily, right? So sometimes it was like you were playing a completely different game, but I think the thing, I remember most fondly, at least when I was growing up, is all the multiplayer PC games, right? So you've got, you know, League of Legends, Dota 2, Counter-Strike, whatever, Battlefield. Like,
Yep.
growing up, playing those with your friends, it's formative. You're able to, I was spending almost like, I'd go to school, I'd hang out with my buddies, and then I get home and I'm hanging out with them again, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
one of the nicest parts about gaming, I think, is its ability to bring people together like that. And I mean, I now that I'm a bit older and also busy, obviously it's a lot harder for me to do that, and I find competitive multiplayer games kind of make me a little angry these days. So I stick to more single player things, but
Yeah.
I sometimes miss it. You know, you could just hop on a call, play some games with friends, and I mean, not that it's a substitute for getting together in person, but some days you can't, right? Some days the weather was shitty, or
Yep.
you know, if you live in different cities,
Yep.
nice conduit for that. So.
It is, and it was like you said, it was a way to kind of bond with people. Like sometimes you were bonding with people in other countries,
Yeah,
you know, like
Yeah.
you know, through this game, and it's it's definitely something that has obviously grown in popularity every year. You know, when I was a kid playing video games, you know, I grew up at a time where literally, if you wanted to play with somebody, they had to be right beside you, right? So to see, I think it was around Xbox and
yeah,
maybe PS2 or PS3, probably PS2 actually.
probably.
That's when I started seeing like the online really grow,
Mhm.
and then with the PC as well, and then from there it's been like off to the races. Like
Yeah.
now, you know, so many people that you know game, almost all of them have like some type of gaming setup where you know you have the chair, you have the headset, you know, it's really grown into something that has become very very popular. So
Absolutely.
I can definitely see the appeal in that, though. Like for me, I have a Nintendo Switch. That's the probably the newest console I have. I collect a lot of retro stuff, and obviously there's an online aspect to the Nintendo Switch as well. But right now, I haven't even done that. I haven't cracked the surface with that. I just kind of play single player whenever I get some time, because I kind of know if I open that window, I might kind of get, you know, really into it. Though I don't know with the Nintendo Switch, like, do you have some of the abilities with like that you have with PC and Xbox? Like
Nintendo Online's not as it's a little behind, I would say, in terms of like
you
relative
can't
to
you
PC
can't
and
talk to people while you're playing, can you?
To the best of my knowledge, not really. No, and I mean, just
Yeah.
think about the games too,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe
They're a little more like family friendly.
Yeah,
kinda.
like the only online games I can really think of would be like Mario Kart or Super Smash Brothers, but you're not going to be talking to people while you play those.
Yeah.
So I mean,
That's how much of a noob I am to the online gaming aspect. I over the years I've always kind of had an interest in it. I've kind of followed it, but the only time I've ever done it was when I was at like friends' houses. Like I remember one time playing, I think it was Call of Duty. I was at someone's house and you know they put the headset on me and I was talking to like some German guy.
Yeah.
And we were going back and forth, and then this girl would kind of come in and out of the stream or whatever the heck it's called, and we're kind of like competing for her attention. Meanwhile, I don't know. It's you never know who's on the other side, right? That's the scary thing. So
yeah.
um,
Well, before dating apps, people were catfishing in gaming lobbies.
But it was. I remember just laughing. The people I was with, they were laughing because me and this guy were just going back and forth, and then this girl would just she would just kind of egg us on. So, but video games. Great thing, great pastime. Obviously, it's become an industry where I mean, people are doing it as a job now. People are making tons of money, streaming,
competitive players,
using Twitch, and there's probably some other ones that I'm forgetting as far as.
I mean, there's Twitch. I mean, people post to YouTube games all the time, and they can have a big following.
Yeah, people go live.
Esports is a huge thing too. I don't know how much you follow that, but like
loosely, I know, like they have actually done like tournaments.
The prize pools are in the millions now, Steve. It's insane.
Yeah, like I've seen videos of like, I think they're in like Japan where they're actually in like huge arenas.
Yep.
And people go there and they watch these people play video games,
Yeah.
and it's the craziest thing. And like the fans, they're literally like wild, just like you would see like fans at like a football game or a soccer game or UFC event. Like it's like they're going insane.
Yeah, and
for these people.
And there's team drama and stuff.
Yeah, it's really really interesting and cool to see like how this thing that just started off as like kind of a pastime for people, how it's really become like almost a competitive sport for some, but then it's also become like a job for some. It's become a stream of revenue for people with their Twitch accounts. Obviously, there's an aspect of it too that's kind of like almost like an OnlyFans account, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like they there's these people on Twitch that are like,
well, hey,
basically playing games in bikinis and like,
well, some of them do have
blow up pools and like, they're making tons of money.
Some of them
this,
do
right?
have OnlyFans accounts as well. So then you couple those two things, you're set.
Yeah, it's really crazy how that whole industry has grown. I guess the last thing we'll kind of touch on. This is actually the longest podcast I've ever done. We have a lot of interesting things to talk about. So you're in engineering.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we kind of mentioned was artificial intelligence. Like, how do you feel about that whole situation?
Oh, I find it beyond interesting, Steve. It's I'm a chemical engineer by trade, so I can only speak to it so much as what I've read in the news and what little I've interacted with it. And if, on the off chance you have a computer engineer or a software engineer or anyone who knows more about artificial intelligence listen to this podcast, they're probably going to be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? But, it is both really cool and really scary, obviously. And I think I'm echoing a lot of what's already being said out there.
Oh, for sure. I feel the same way.
The thing about it is, like, it is just, all technology, it is progressing so quickly. And there's not even time for us to put proper regulations or like guidelines around it, because as soon as you've got like, say you took 2 years to do a comprehensive look at the AI we have right now and decide here's what it should be used for, here are the proper guidelines, here's like ways we can make sure it's like safe and not infringing on like, there's the big issue with copyright right now, right? If you can use AI to generate these images that artists spend all their time making, where's the line there, right? You don't want to take away these artists' livelihood. They're doing wonderful things. Like, can a robot really replace that? I digress. Say we take 2 years. By the time you release that review, by the time you release all these regulations for policymakers or whoever is dealing with this, AI 10.0 is already going to be released. Like, things are just going so quickly, and so in that regard, it's a little scary, right? You just don't know where we're going to be. You never know how people are going to use it. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, my God, is it cool, right? Like, I've used ChatGPT just for a few things, mostly out of curiosity. I've asked it some questions. I've even had it like, I'll have a grammar review like emails before I send them if it's a longer email that's important that I need to send off, just because it's like so easy, and I'm just blown away. I'm blown away by what that can do. And ChatGPT is really like, I don't want to say simple, but it's pulling stuff from online databases and it's regurgitating things. Like, it's not even really AI in the truest sense. And then the stuff like, I don't know, do you know Boston Dynamics? Have you ever watched any of their stuff?
No.
Not so much AI, but they're just building like the robot bodies and torsos and focusing on the movement, right? And how far it's come, like, you think about putting that all together.
Oh, I've seen robots literally do like backflips and hang off bars and just these movements that obviously they're doing it in like a robot form. Like, it's not like they've put anything on it to make it look like a person yet.
Yeah.
But if they were to do that, and obviously these are experts that can really make these people look like a person, and then mix that with the movements that you're seeing that robot do, that is some freaky stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, once it gets to a certain point, you might not be able to tell the difference between a robot and a person.
Well, yeah, I mean, did you hear Instagram? I don't think you don't have Instagram.
I don't, but
okay, that's fine. You're not missing anything.
Some of these fake people that are
there's this whole thing they're talking about, making like AI accounts of celebrities.
Yeah.
You can make your own AI account. It's like you. So and it's true. It's gonna be hard to tell the difference. And I mean, critical thinking, in my opinion, opinion, and this might be a hot take, is on the decline, right? Like, information is fed to us every day, and the algorithm is very good at showing you the stuff you want to hear.
Yeah.
And so everyone takes things at face value anymore. No one takes the time to think about things or to work through it, really. And that's a byproduct. Society's so fast-paced now, it doesn't feel like we have time to dig into these things the same way we used to.
Yep.
But that's concerning because no one's going to bat an eye. Like, think about all the scams that already exist. You start using AI, someone's on the phone pretending to... And again, maybe this is a stretch. Maybe I'm overestimating its capabilities. But, like, probably not. There's some, like, AI vocals. Like, I don't know. I saw this thing. It was like someone got Nicki Minaj to rap this other thing.
Yeah.
Sounded just like her.
It's very big in music right now. There's a lot of people, like...
yeah, because you're a big rap fan and stuff,
well,
right?
I was. I've kind of fallen off of it a little bit recently because I've been listening to more podcasts, but like podcasts like in the car, podcasts just like walking around the house, have the headphones in.
Yeah.
But I know kind of what's going on with the whole AI thing where they're having, Drake, do a song with The Weeknd. Meanwhile, it's just AI.
Exactly.
These guys did not do that song together, but yet this song is literally like,
sounds
being
exactly
shared
like
by
them.
it sounds exactly like them. It's being shared by everybody. Everyone's saying it's like the greatest song of all time. Meanwhile, these guys had nothing to do with it.
And of course, that's where it gets tricky, right? It's like these artists can someone use their likeness and their sound to make this stuff? And I don't know. I'm not like a patent copyright lawyer, so I don't know the legality of it.
Yeah.
I know for me as someone who acts, I would hate if a machine took that away from me.
I think they're still trying to figure that stuff out, and I think that's where it gets kind of complicated. Right?
Yeah. But anyways, all of that to say, I mean, in terms of scams and stuff, if someone like somehow emulates like a grandmother or like a family member, it's crazy to think about. But despite all that negativity, I think it's a really powerful tool that has a lot of good as well, as with anything, right? Like, the ability to, for example, schooling, education. There's a million different types of learners out there. Okay, maybe a million's an exaggeration, but there's a lot of different types of learners. And it's hard for any one teacher to come up with a different assessment for all of them. But maybe using AI now, all of a sudden, help me make an assessment for a kinesthetic learner. Help me make an assessment for a visual learner. So its ability to assist with things that might be hard for someone to do on their own.
Yeah.
I think is really cool and really important. We need to explore it. But of course, there's also the scary unknown side of it. But hey, that's the world we live in.
I guess what it comes down to is just like anything in life, there's a good element of it and a bad element of it. And sometimes it's just a matter of who gets their hands on it, right?
Yeah.
So, like everything in life, it's like the yin and yang, right? A little bit of good, a little bit of bad. But there's definitely a lot of positive that can come from it. And I think we will see more positive, kind of come throughout the years, but there will be some negatives, and hopefully us as humans can kind of figure it out. And basically, again, it takes a lot of legal stuff and certain rules to kind of keep this in a nice, confined, controlled way. But as you said, things are moving so quickly. We're kind of behind the eight ball right now, so it's gonna take some time, but hopefully we'll be able to figure it out. But either way, it's very interesting and something that we're literally seeing happen in front of us, and it's happening so fast that year by year we're just seeing things change, by leaps and bounds. So it'll be interesting to see how it all kind of works out. If you believe what some people say, this could be kind of a form of us kind of coming together with AI and becoming a whole new thing, right? That's what some people say. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But either way, I appreciate you being on the podcast, Nick. This was a great podcast. The longest podcast I've done.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah, so many interesting topics that we touched on today. And definitely want to have you back on the podcast at some point. Thanks again, Nick. And for you guys that are listening, I appreciate you guys listening to the Steve V Show. Let everybody know that another podcast is coming your way. you.